If you have ever tried using anything like GPT or Gemini or any of the other LLMs and you've got rubbish results or you felt it's more hassle than it's worth, some of that could be because of the prompts that you're using. So if we think back to how LLMs, ChatGPT, etc., has learned, it's about looking at all the content, which means there is an average. So if you put in a poor or average request, you're going to get a poor or average response quite often. Um, so the idea is you probably need better prompts. You might have heard the term prompt engineering, all the rage a little while ago, but my opinion is that LLMs, the language modules, they are going to engineer that job out of existence, and you'll see why in just a minute. So we are going to talk about GPT Go. So we've designed this so that you can create really lengthy, detailed, specific prompts and then use it anywhere. So we will go through what's required of a prompt. If you are new to any AI, I'll just very briefly take you through what that might look like. So we have designed this for the completely free version, so you don't need to pay any money whatsoever. But if you use the link that will be accompanying this video, and you've never used GPT before, you're signed out, you will obviously be requested to either sign in or sign up. So if you've never used it before, it's just that straightforward, normal create an account. Very straightforward. And like I said, can be completely free. And then you will be left with, let me just bring up, this is a previous example. You will then, once signed in, if I go back to the GPT prompt, if it's going to give it to me, new chat, try that again. Don't you love it when technology works? There we go. So once you're signed in and you use our link, this is where you come to, and this is about prompt engineering for anyone. So it's about being super specific on what you want GPT to give you versus just being generic. And just to clarify, the response out of this you can use in any other platform. So whether you like Claude or DeepSeek, Gemini, Perplexity. There's a new one out at the moment called Manus. I think that's another Chinese one that people are having really good results from. You can still take this prompt, because it's a framework that you can use, and put it anywhere. Still, we'll very briefly go through what is behind the scenes in our prompt engine, shall we say. So we've got prompt engineering for anyone. It's been designed in OpenAI ChatGPT, but can be used anywhere. So what we do is we have designed the crafter method. You will see a lot of prompts that use perhaps 4 or 5 of these elements, but when I was working with it in more and more depth, I felt it needed just packing out a little bit more, just in case you needed more control or guidance for this. So very briefly, CRAFTER, crafter. The first one is context. What is the situation? That's about the background and the purpose. We then have the role. What should it act as? So it can be anything from a PhD professor to a primary school teacher. So what should this GPT prompt get? How should the GPT prompt ask the LLM to behave for you? It could be a research assistant, could be a life coach. So it's just being specific on how you want it to act. One of the more common ones is a marketing guru or strategist or a newsletter content copywriter or something like that. So what is the role? Audience, really important. Audience could be your target market, could be the boss if you're creating a report. It could be the kids that you're trying to create a lesson for. So it's because we've designed this to be used in any use case scenario. It's not business specific, although we tend to use it for businesses and our clients who are SMEs. We've designed it so that it asks you the questions before it gives you the prompt. Then the format, obviously really important, because you want to talk about the tone as well as the structure. You know, is this a friendly newsletter that has certain set specific pieces? Is it a highly structured report that has very clear outlines? You know, just what do you want to use it for? So how should it look? Tasks, you may only ever have one task. I want you to create me content or whatever it is, or you could have a very long list of highly structured tasks and say, okay, first task is I want you to do this and let me choose, and then on the second task we're going to do XYZ, and then you're going to ask me these questions. So you can get a whole mini process flow within the tasks. And we have an example. If you have something to hand, it will let it know exactly what that is. What you're looking for, the standard, the style, the language, etc. And then the rules. What extra guidelines, must-haves, etc. do you want this to go through? So that's what Crafter stands for. So I have, here's one I prepared earlier, because it's a lengthy process to create a really good prompt. But this GPT Go simply shortens that process and helps you build out something that would probably have taken me a few days. So I did it earlier so that we could go through. I'm going to scroll all the way up the top so that you will see what we've got. Now, I'm just going to go back to that. You'll notice it is prompt engineering, but it's designed around the framework, so you don't have to remember anything, and you can give it a really light, generic request, and it will start digging deep for you. So there's a couple of examples that you could, you know, help me create a prompt for an AI assistant, for example. So it's a prompt for marketing content. So you could start off with a really generic high level one, which is what I did for here. So I'll go scroll right the way back up. This, by the way, is our free version test GPT. So we have not paid for this particular account. We have a paid account, but this is for us just to test out, can clients use what we're doing for free, which you can. So completely free account, and all I gave it was, give me a prompt to create a newsletter for my landscaping business. And it starts to come back with, okay, yep, I want to know a few things. So you can read all the way through what it's going to ask you. It kind of gives you that framework. This is what we're going to work to. And then it says, okay, that's the framework. I'm going to help you draft that high quality prompt. So first one is the context, and it asks me some specific questions. So you've already given it an idea that it's about landscaping. That first prompt, you could potentially give it an awful lot more information if you wanted to, and it will shorten this process a bit. But it's good to go through the details. So I simply work through them. I want the reader to do this. I want the reader to be aware of this. So I'm just answering these questions. Gives a reply to check that it's understood what you've told it. If you are happy with it, you can go on to the role, or you could say, that's not quite what I wanted. You know, you can get it to change something. So it then starts asking about the role, gives me the feedback as to how it's understood that. The audience, I've said, okay, I think it's going to be homeowners with really large gardens, so probably affluent, and they're in. I've just chosen the city of Carlisle, UK, so in Cumbria, UK. And my idea was for gardening, you need to know what part of the country or even the globe you potentially want to talk about. Obviously, it changes for each case, so it will then repeat what it understands that audience to be. Then it moves on to the format. What would you like the format to be? Again, offers some suggestions. You can add to that and say, well, no, that's not quite what I was thinking. I want this or I want that. Same with the tone. It gives you some suggestions, but you just talk to it as a normal person. One thing I like to say about AI in general is it's a bit like a highly intelligent toddler. It needs a lot of guidance, it needs a lot of support, but can compute and analyze data to the nth degree. So if you kind of think about it, you know, so it's not intelligent as far as human as far as a human perspective is concerned, because a human will kind of naturally start to reason with, you know, internally start to reason the true meaning of what someone's telling them. You know, there's nuances that humans can pick up. LLMs cannot. All they can do is look at the data that's been fed to them. Admittedly, masses and masses of data, because they've pretty much been told to go train themselves on the internet. So they've got all this masses of data, but you have to treat them that like that toddler that needs that guidance and extra support and perhaps extra information. So I've replied, told it what I wanted. It then feeds that back to me to check that it's understood you. And then the tasks, it suggests what those tasks might be. This one, I have changed things around. I wanted it to tell me some ideas first, give me a choice. Then I want to pick one, and then I want you to do this, and then I want you to do that. So this is me getting a bit more picky about how I want it to do certain things. And again, it's that two-way conversation. It will then feed back again to check, is that correct? And you can change it. You can say, I want you to only generate me 3 ideas, or whatever that is. Again, that two-way conversation. Then we get to examples and rules. So it's going to ask you, do you have anything? Do you want it to find you something? If it was something like this, marketing content, I would potentially go and find another landscape gardening company that was in a different area that I admired and perhaps aspire to be like. I might see what their marketing newsletter looked like. If it was a report for your boss or your board of directors, I would potentially pick up one of the previous reports and say, okay, this is our example. And don't forget, you can always add your files if you had a specific version already. So you don't need to do the whole copy and paste thing. You can just pick a file if you've already got one there. Or you can just simply say, I don't have an example. And then the rules. So I put, I don't have an example yet. But the rules, and to me, this is really important and sometimes gets forgotten from some prompts, because the responses again can start to get a little bit generic depending on your topic. You might want to restrict it to a certain type of information or a certain type of website. You know, if you wanted a prompt that helped you do research on tax law, you might want it to only look at HMRC or .gov.uk or something. So that those rules you can really constrict and stop it going off piste. Make sure that it's doing what it needs to do, and it's giving you reliable information. The another way of doing that is to say, okay, you need to give me the sources, especially if it's doing a little bit of research. One of the rules I needed for this, because it's about gardening, was it needed to be specific to Cumbria, UK for the weather, as I didn't want gardening tips for Arizona when we're in a very wet Cumbria, for example. Not that it's always wet, but it's a lot wetter than Arizona. So it then obviously feeds back the example that I might have given it, which it didn't have one this time, and what I think the rules are. This one's always a bugbear for me, because when you get generic content with American spelling, to me that just screams ChatGPT. So I like to start off with UK English. I like it to go far more in depth, and then obviously I like to edit it afterwards just to check it. Once you've answered all the questions, it is then about getting that prompt. So there's a couple of different ways that you can then use this once you've got your prompt, and this is alludes to it here. You can either create a compact summary and just keep chatting in that chat, or you can get the full detailed master, which sometimes when you work on these things can be more than 2 or 3 pages long. I've got one prompt for our branding that is, I think when I last looked, was about 6 pages of text and 2 or 3 more pages of example images, but the text was about 6 pages because I really wanted it. I wanted consistency, and I wanted branding, colors, and yeah, it was just a very, very, very long prompt, but it's giving me some amazing results for images because now it's got all this information and constraints to say you can only create images within this kind of sphere of styles, etc. So compact summary will allow you to keep chatting in here. The detailed master prompt, you can copy and paste that, and you can open up a new chat. And you will notice that when you go to I'm going to open this up in a new tab just so we don't lose our place. You can sometimes choose different models. If you're on the paid version, you get more choice, but you might want to at some point put it into a different chat. You can put it into one of those different LLMs. So if you've got a favorite one, such as Gemini or Claude, Perplex, some people just love Perplexity. They feel it has a different tone to it. You just take it and copy and paste it directly into one of those. What I quite like to do, because when I've really refined a prompt and I know I'm going to be using this a lot, I will save it into a text file to then be uploaded and say, okay, this, I want you to refer back to this. So you can have that would then allow you to have a distinct chat for a certain type of activity, and it will keep referring back to the prompt. Or you can have a distinct platform, or you can just keep using the same one and just pull it back in. There is a little bit of difference when you are using a paid version, and I plan to do just a mini course for more in-depth use if you are using a paid version, because with a paid version you get things like projects, so you can put all your chats into an overarching project which allows you to upload certain files which include some of these roles. It then allows me to have an entire team of AI, let's call them techs or technicians, because they're not quite agents, they still need the human user for that agency. but it allows me to say, okay, for my marketing strategist, can you now look at this, and I've got all these different roles and chats within a project. So that's how do we want to use either the compact summary prompt, you just keep chatting, or the full detailed, you copy and paste it, and or it will give you a text file if that's what you want to use somewhere else. So I've asked for the full detailed master prompt, and it will go through everything here. Now you can review that, and you can make it even more in depth. You want it to change certain things, just go in and change it. For this one, I'm going to ask it just so that you can see. So you've got that full. I'm going to please start one for June. There we go. Let's see what it comes up with. And it should remember those tasks because it's already in the top of the top of the chat. And there we go. So it's now going to start performing the prompt it has just created. And I think we had up to 8, was it? Oh, we're going to get a few more. I will let that keep going. Oh, there we go. So it's suggesting we perhaps have 2 to 3 tips. Again, this is just a conversation. You just view it as a text message with someone who knows how to write, in this case, newsletters, but it could be reports or lessons or whatever it is in other cases. And yeah, you literally say, okay, can I have 2, 5, and 8, please? And you can highlight these and say, this one, I don't like this one. If you use the commas, it will come up and you say, I don't like this one. Can you change that? Da, 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 da. I'll just close that one down. I'm going to say for this one, I don't like this one as it's not horticultural. Can you, sorry, the typing's not very good. Can you suggest something different? So there we go. And there we go. So it's again just having that conversation. So you can start to get really specific on that. And there we go. And it's got a source, RHS. And if you wanted to check that, you can say, and you, oops, it's still thinking, is it? There we go. And it's decided not to work at the moment. What I would do is, can you give me the link to that? Oh, there we go. Can you give me the link to that video and see what it comes back with? Again, you're just building up and building up and building up, and eventually it will get to the end of the task where it's created that content that you're happy with. And if you remember, I asked it to give me a title last, and then give you some suggestions for the title. So that's you starting to build out that really long prompt that will start to generate some really decent content for you to then just spruce up a bit, make sure it sounds like you, make sure it's using phrases that you do like to use, and take out the ones that you don't. If you want to start training it on your own language, you can literally say in that content, no, I don't like that, can you change it? I wouldn't say that, and it will remember it for subsequent newsletters. So as you start using it, you'll get better and better results. as long as you keep telling it the bits you don't like and the bits you do. So that's your prompt engineering. I will use all these different prompts for different activities. However, even with these professional level prompts, this is still pretty much the basic level of AI, given what can now be accomplished. Um, it's great. Using this level is great for creating ideas, for a bit of brainstorming, bit of research. But if when you're thinking about business applications where you are wanting to do the same thing over and over and over again, so say for example, you need to research a certain topic over and over again for perhaps different clients or on different prospects or something like that, or every month you're having to create the same report for the managers or the board of directors, and you're having to do that over and over and over again. Anywhere where you've got that kind of repetitive, ongoing process, that's when you need to start thinking about the next level up. So we've actually got what we call Smart Start with AI in business. So that Smart Start is about looking at those opportunities that can still give you highly tailored results, but consistently over and over and over again. So if you find that while this is great at giving you ideas, but you now want to take your business to the next level, that's when you need to give us a shout.